I escaped war in Ukraine and moved to the Philippines. I never expected this. The first sound I woke up to in Ukraine was not the birds or the sound of neighbors heading to work. It was the terrifying echo of explosions in the distance. At first, I thought it was just military drills, but when the windows shook and people screamed in the streets, I knew life would never be the same. My family and I had only a few hours to decide what to do. The war was real, and survival became the only thing on our minds. We packed whatever we could carry and left behind everything we loved. Our home, our memories, our entire life. The cold winds cut into our skin as we stood waiting for transport. I kept asking myself, where can I go? Where is it safe? Where will I not just survive, but live again? A friend mentioned the Philippines. I laughed at first. I knew so little about the Philippines other than its beaches and islands. But when I searched online, I found stories about how welcoming Filipinos are, how the country opened its arms to foreigners, and how life there was simpler and more affordable than in most parts of the world. I made the decision that changed my life forever. I bought a one-way ticket with the little money I had left and flew to a country I had never been to before. My heart pounded as the plane touched down in Manila. I expected chaos, fear, maybe regret. But what I found was warmth. At the airport, a stranger saw me confused and tired. He smiled and offered to help me find a taxi. I thought he wanted money, but he refused and just said, "Welcome to the Philippines." That was the first time I felt human again since the war began. I started living in a small apartment in Quezon City. It was not big, it was not fancy, but it was safe, and that meant everything to me. The streets were full of life. Vendors selling food, children laughing, music playing in the background. The Philippines had problems, of course, but it was alive, and that was all I wanted to feel again. The first shock was the food. I had no idea how much I would fall in love with Filipino dishes. I tasted adobo and sinigang for the first time, and it felt like comfort on a plate. The street food amazed me. Balut fish balls and halo were nothing I had ever experienced before, but they became part of my healing process. Sharing meals with people who barely knew me, yet treated me like family, reminded me of the warmth I lost back in Ukraine. The second shock was the kindness of the people. In Ukraine, we had become used to locking our doors and keeping to ourselves for safety. But in the Philippines, neighbors would knock just to say hello. They invited me to fiestas, offered me food during Christmas, and even asked me to join karaoke nights. I thought I would be an outsider here, but instead, I was treated like I belonged. Even when my money ran low, people helped me find ways to survive. A man I met on the street taught me how to sell bottled water and snacks. I made a little profit and used it to keep going. Later, I found online jobs and slowly built a new way of life. In the Philippines, survival turned into living, and living turned into happiness. What shocked me most was how affordable life could be. I no longer feared every dollar I spent. A simple meal was enough to fill me without draining my wallet. Rent was much lower than I expected, and transportation, like jeepneys and tricycles, gave me a sense of community. I felt connected to the people every time I rode along, hearing their laughter and conversations. The biggest change came when I visited the provinces I traveled to: Cebu, Bohol, and Davao. And what I found left me speechless. The beaches, the mountains, the rice terraces. It was paradise compared to the bombed-out ruins of my home country. Locals in these places welcomed me even more warmly than in the city. They shared their stories and I shared mine. They listened to my pain without judgment. They reminded me that no matter where I came from, I had a place here. I never expected the Philippines to teach me how to live again, but it did. The festivals made me feel joy like a child. The churches gave me a place to sit in silence and heal. The markets gave me the colors, smells, and sounds of life. I thought I had lost forever. I started volunteering at small community projects, teaching English to children and helping organize small events. The gratitude in their eyes healed parts of me that the war had broken. I realized then that survival was no longer my story. My story was now about purpose. I had fled Ukraine with no money and no hope, but in the Philippines, I found both. I never expected that escaping war would lead me to a place where strangers would call me family, where every day would feel like a gift, and where I would finally understand what it meant to truly live. Sometimes I wake up and think about my old home, the streets I may never see again, the friends I may never meet again. But then I hear the roosters crowing, the vendors calling outside, the laughter of children running down the street. And I remember that life gave me a second chance, and the Philippines was the one that gave it to me. Looking back, I realize I was not just escaping war. I was running toward a new life, and I found it here. This country with its kindness and resilience gave me more than shelter, it gave me a home. I came here with nothing, not even hope, but today I live with more than I ever imagined. Love, friendship, safety, and a community that embraces me every single day. I never expected that from the Philippines, but that is exactly what I found, and it changed me forever.